Check 1, check 2, testing. When I came to Christ, I was looking into God's eyes in a sense. And the image that I saw there, I felt that He liked me. I felt loved. And in this world, sometimes that's something that you don't always feel from people. That deep sense of appreciation, that sense of awe that you would have for a work of art. It was so different than my normal experience, and it made me feel good. And that's the real core of the gospel. He loves what He created. And when you see that kind of love, the only response that I could give is to love back. The heart of the gospel. Oh, I don't know, I sometimes refer to it as the blessing cycle. God's love comes down and it hits our hearts, and our response is to love Him back. We send praises up and He sends the blessings down, and it just becomes like the water cycle on earth. Water turns to vapor and rises and comes back down as rain. And then I turned to people who had had the same experience, and when I looked in their eyes, it wasn't the same thing. That was curious to me for a while, until I realized they're dealing with their own challenges and their own joys and their own stories. It becomes very difficult sometimes for us when we're looking at other people to connect with. I often say to God, loan me your eyes so that when I'm looking at someone, I can see them the way you see them. One thing that's pretty clear, at a deep level, we need each other. Sometimes it can feel painful to see ourselves in someone else's eyes. They see us through their own lenses, through their own life experiences. The trick is, ask God to really see them through His eyes. When we meet a new person, we've never seen those particular gifts. They lead us to new experiences. We, as Christians, sometimes, there gets to be sort of an us and them mentality. Jesus never was involved in that. He only spoke to the beauty in people. One of the stories that's very difficult for people sometimes is when He tells the story of the Good Samaritan. Jesus tells a story of a Jew who was beaten up and left for dead by the side of the road. And He goes through different segments of society and says how these people who you would think would have been the ones to stop and care for this man don't. The Samaritan, who was sort of the sworn enemy of the Jew, comes along and sees this Jew dying. He cares for him. He takes him to an inn to recover. He goes way far above and beyond what would be normal for his enemy. We sometimes have trouble with our friends. We sometimes have trouble with, as a Christian, our brothers and sisters, let alone the world. That's the antithesis of God's grace and mercy. There is no us and them. We need to see each other as who God created. The more we can do that, I think the happier God is and the more pleased He is with us. The Bible talks about Him looking at us and saying, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." The Bible talks about us grieving the Holy Spirit when we pass judgment on people, whether they're believers or non-believers. I was married for a long time. God taught me a lot about my husband, and one of the things He taught me was I could speak to the king in my husband, or I could speak to the fool in my husband. Inside every man is a king and is a fool. Inside every woman is a queen or an idiot. We get to choose who we're speaking to. It's especially true of our mates, but it's true of everyone at the same time. When we decide that that person is an idiot or that person is a fool, there's a verse in the Bible that says we're in danger of hellfire. When we speak to our mate or to another human being, and we're speaking to the king or the queen, we pull out the best of them, the person that God really created them to be. When we judge them and we speak to them on some other level, we don't get the same results. When I spoke to the king and my husband, he became mad. It brought out the best in him. When I spoke to him as a fool, we both suffered the consequences. It didn't elevate either one of us. We all have a better nature. There is a saying that I heard recently that said, "Look around you. If you don't see a loving person, well then become one." It's so much more fun. We need other people. It's a blessing cycle. I like it. Thanks for listening.